Poke.
Hey. How's it going? I saw that that dude I met last year when I was hanging out at Mike's, named Matt. No joke, I almost confused him as my brother. Because the dude looks exactly like my brother. He even has a very similar voice. It was just weird because I'd kind of forgot what the guy looked like. And I forgot that he looks so much like my brother that when I heard him say hey to me, like he was like, "What's up, man?" And I was like, "Hey, bro."
LOL.
Unironically, because normally I don't say hey, bro as a way to say hi to someone. Because that's how I would have said hello to my brother. And then I realized, like, after that, because it was in the morning right after I'd woke up, and then I told him what happened in my brain, because this was just me. Oh, I'm not... No wonder it was hard for me. I forgot to put my longbow back on. Because pre-sequel. Oh no. Today's just gonna be one of those days where it's just not my day.
Hello,
At least
Commander.
for games. Hey, what's up, taters? What are you, a Command and Conquer unit? Commander? It makes me think of the spy from Red Alert. He always had like a very bad English accent that was obviously done by an American person.
Dominating the online community of Dreadnought.
Have you been? I think that game only has a community because it is free. No offense to the game developer. It's just, it went down the same path as Hawken, where it was like Hawken was a graphically impressive and very awesome to look at game back when it was announced. It still is like, when you look at it today, that game is one of the most visually pleasing games to look at, just because everything is so smooth. All the animations and everything like that.
E-bots, I am not sure, LOL.
It was like the the start of what made most modern games become way more graphically focused, but they did it without reason. Like, Hawken was graphically focused, and it had every right to be. Because it was trying to mimic, like, an online Steel Battalion, which was, like, one of the best PlayStation 2 games, and had this giant dedicated controller for it. If you've never heard of Steel Battalion. Or not Steel... Is it Steel Battalion? Hold on, wait. I think that might be the 360 one that I'm thinking of. No, it is Steel Battalion. It is.
Steel Battalion has tanks, I think.
No. Steel Battalion had one of the most complicated, complex controllers ever made. It had 3 pedals, I believe like 40 or 50 different functioning buttons, or something like that. I can't remember. I was looking up a picture of it right now. Yeah, it's got like different gears. It's got a reverse, neutral, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the left. A giant stick with a button on it. It's got like a start, pause, and then a bunch of other auxiliary function buttons below the left control stick. It's got like 5 red buttons, 9...
And the 360 had some kind of game called Steel Battalion.
No, that one was a game made by the same company, but it was made with the Kinect. And that was called something Steel Battalion, or whatever. That was the bad version. Because you couldn't play the game. Because they tried to make it as complex as the original game. But you can't do that. Hell, the game isn't even noted by most people because just getting one of the controllers to play the game properly was half of what made that game. Because the actual game wasn't very long, if I remember correctly. The player, oh yeah, at the beginning of every mission, the player must start up the machine and operating system. This is handled through a series of switches and buttons dedicated to this purpose. If a corner is turned too fast, the machine will tumble over. If the player machine overheats, its operating system must be reset. The game even simulates window wipers in case of mud hitting the monitor. If the player does not eject when prompted, the player's in-game character will die and the game will delete its own save data. And people think Dark Souls is hardcore. I always laugh. Every time. You forget that stuff about older games. Yeah, no, it was punishing as fuck. Steel Battalion was. That was not a... It was, like I said, the novelty of the game was the controller and its complexity. Because actually getting through the game was short. But it was complicated. And if you weren't ready to learn the complexities of it, or knowing what to do or what not to do in certain situations, you're just fucked. And yeah, you are right in the sense that the game doesn't call them mechs. It's not a mech game. They're called vertical tanks. Oh yeah, that shit, so brutal. It was a roguelike before roguelike became a real used term widely. But back then, permadeath was kind of more normalized. It was like playing Mario Brothers. You ran out of lives, you died. You had to restart from the beginning. That's just how that was. And now people consider that a difficulty because you restart back at a checkpoint and the checkpoint doesn't magically become where your feet are standing. at any given moment. Like modern video games, where it's just like, oh, I'll just make a quick save. You do the Elder Scrolls thing, where you just quick save, and then you frickin' do the thing you did, and if it doesn't turn out right, you just quick save and reload. I think that's why I got so into classic WoW back in the day, because it was, for its time, really punishing. Nowadays, of course, everyone knows what they're doing, and a game like that will never be as punishing as it originally was. Because people just won't be as stupid.
Guy was playing Sonic Mania. It is like way harder than Dark Souls. Jesus LOL. Thank God video games have saves now.
Dark Souls is only hard to people who have trouble just trying stuff over and over. I've become more like that over time, to be honest, and I've been trying to work myself out of it. Because, I mean, it's hard to say that modern games haven't affected you, because if you're a gamer, you've played modern bullshit games that just hold the fuck out of your hand at every instance. And they don't let you die. You basically have to try to die in a lot of modern video games. It's part of the reason why I like Borderlands, even though it can be unfair at times. Because the enemies are on your level. They just get the shit that you have. And kill them just as easily as they can kill you. Sort of thing. Speaking of which, have you downloaded the Handsome Collection yet? This game won't come with the Handsome Collection. I had people wonder that.
Almost finished.
Oh, you're playing games while downloading? I never do that. I'm always worried about something downloading wrong because I don't trust the power of the system. Look out.
Put down your weapons. Hyperion Corporation does not wish to harm them.
Super bad brick, because he's just brick. He's just a weirdly eyebrow-shaped brick. Oh, thanks for your blast anaconda, bud. Oh, it's only level 34? Really, dude? You were like level 43 and you dropped a level 34. It's the numbers are opposite. It flipped the level numbers around. Dang it. Look at that in comparison. The Defiler is just ridiculous. Why is the Defiler so good? I love how positive the Hyperion soldiers are in this game, because you only get to fight this one group of them. These are the only ones that exist in the entire first game. Is the tiny little group of them. He's got a Carnage. Here, I can show you a party trick. How much you want to bet that if I throw a gun on the ground, it's going to point this way? How much you want to bet? Who the Why won't my map zoom out? Whatever. So, I'll show you a trick that you can do in single player. Only works in single player though. In multiplayer this doesn't apply, because the game treats itself differently.
Sony took all my money.
Oh my kamikaze. Come here. I need to put my defiler back on. Alright, go watch. I'm clearly pointing this way, and if I throw a gun on the ground, clearly it didn't point that way, right? Well, what if I do this? I'm looking this way. I must have not turned around fast enough. Hold on. I've showed this glitch off in the other game. It should work in this one too, but it's harder to throw a gun in the air in this one. Let me toss it off this. Actually, I might be in online mode, which would affect my ability to do this glitch, because it only works in offline. That... Do I have to throw a machine gun? Is the pistol too small for it to apply to? Oh! Did you see it like do a weird glitch thing? In this game it must not be west that guns point to. It must be a different cardinal direction. What the hell? He didn't throw it on the ground. Oh, that one I threw way too. What the? No, it just... I guess that doesn't work in this game. Let me get the last clap component, which is in here. And then what I'm gonna do is I'll make sure to set myself to offline mode. In Borderlands 2, I can trigger that glitch every time. And you can try it yourself when you start playing the game. Just throw a gun out of your inventory and then turn around and don't watch the gun hit the ground. And normally that overwrites the physics in the engine, and it will force the gun to be placed in a default loaded in position, which in Borderlands 2 is west on the map. No. It'd be perfectly straight in a direction when you did it. No. I don't think it's doing it anymore. I think they might have fixed it, at least with this game. Yep. I think they fixed it. Because they should be all on the same angle, all pointing the same direction. I kind of wish I could load up the second game to show what I was talking about. I wish all three of the games were bundled into the same launcher. Because then I could actually change games without stopping my stream. You can do that with the pre-sequel in Borderlands 2, because you don't have to close app to swap games. Oh, why did I do that? Oh, I thought my game froze, and I was like, what the fuck? Never had that happen. Oh, wait, now I remember why I even went there in the first place. This is going terrible. Nightmare made material.
The best defense is not a good offense. It's a good defense. So get yourself a shield.
I don't need to do this skip now. I just wanted to show it off. Even though I've done it pretty much every playthrough. Come up here. Throw a grenade. Make sure it's longbow or the normal grenade works too. You just have to place it more weird. Then you do this. And you land on top of an invisible wall. And then you walk into an invisible wall and they're like, oh shit, you can't go. Oh, yes you can. And you just... There you go.
Good God, WTF.
There's weirder shit than that. You should see how to get back in the treasure room in Borderlands 2. That's so complicated I couldn't even show you how to do it. Ooh, a quick health. A Panacea. Panacea Cure Fast.
The Leviathan Vault runes.
Yeah. Oh, so you do know some Borderlands 2 stuff. I thought you said you had never played the games before.
Hey, I've got a job for you.
Yeah, I used to do it a lot on PS3.
Oh, playing it on PS4 is so much nicer, dude. Ever since they did the FOV update back in like 2015 or 16,
Yeah,
I think.
I used to play a lot of Borderlands.
It's 60 FPS and with the option of having 120 FOV on all consoles. Or, wrong thing. Right here. It's so nice. Default FOV is this, I think. Yeah, that looks about default. This is what the game would have looked like if you were playing on PlayStation 3.
Your opinion is important.
Oh my god, it's so nauseating. Having played the game in
Hyperion cares about your safety.
a zoomed out FOV,
Ready to take it to the next level?
it's like, what the fuck? It's like someone glitched out the zoom and you're just always zoomed in. Some people don't like putting it as high. Some people think that 100 is the perfect balance. This far. But I used to play Quake, and to be honest, I always like my FOV where the sides are pretty much way, because all it does is pinch the center of the screen. That's really what FOV does, at least for Borderlands. It makes the center of the screen smaller, which is why the crosshair changes with FOV as well. It literally just manipulates your camera. See, when you have 60 FOV, the crosshair is really big. Then when you have 120, double the FOV, the crosshair, and turn it into Elma Fudd. Freaking crosshair, you know what I mean? You're gonna get double quassed. You try to quass me.
What's the matter? Scared? More than a purebred panda turned chicken at Sanders Gorge. And even more if I made that truly awful joke.
Wow. 3 crits on crabworms in a row. Laser beam accuracy. Use a laser. His brain is just beep, boop, boop, beep. Why do you have to be so slow, Roboy? Got him. I'm surprised it didn't deal damage to me. How do you like them apples? Oh. Thank you. Jack would never approve of these overly positive Hyperion units. You're too happy, bud. Too happy. Another one gone, and another one gone. And another one bites the dust. Another one down. I'm gonna be level 50 before I even get to any of the story and playthrough too. Oh yeah, isn't this the one where Ice Cream Day glitched out? God damn it. No. Rocky Road. Alamo. I want in the mode for Ice Cream Day. What the hell, you and your slidey boy. Slam with no air boy. Point.
Fuck heavy bow guns.
Is that what you're using right now? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You haven't shut up yet? Die already, bud.
A mere taste of the pain to come to enemies of the revolution. We are the Contracts, and we are Legion. Viva la revolution!
No switch axe and some asshole keeps knocking me away when I use my elemental discharge.
That's why I go for DPS rotation. Still get knocked away, but it's better than discharge, at least if you're trying to do DPS. I tend to only use elemental discharge when I have like a little pip of the the charge left, or of the sword mode left. But it all depends. I'm also the same kind of person who doesn't let the discharge go off by itself. I manually let go of it so my character lands back on their feet instead of being blown backwards. That's a mechanic that not even Switch Axe mains know about sometimes. If you mount the monster with the Switch Axe charge, when the blade is actually glowing with energy and you use the elemental discharge and you stick into the monster.
Hey Dustin.
When you stick into the monster, if you let the thing run out naturally, your character will get blown off and land back on their feet. And when your character lands on their feet, for a second you have the chance to dodge, even if the sword mode is completely empty. So you can then manually swap back to axe mode, which gives you meter for sword mode back. Whereas if you let it force you back into sword mode, or let it force you back into axe mode, you don't get extra meter for it. You always want to either roll and do the swap attack, or just roll to get out of the way, and then it will swap your weapon automatically after the roll is completed. It's also the fastest way to charge the sword in sword mode is to do a discharge where it doesn't stick into the monster, and then after the discharge you just press the circle button instead of pressing triangle or backwards, because if you press triangle or backwards it'll detonate. But if you press circle while you're doing the manual discharge, if you go like triangle, 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 circle, it will stop doing the discharge and instead he'll go for a normal sword swing, which then you can go back into your normal sword rotation while doing it. So ideally, when you go into sword mode, you'd want to swap into sword mode, do triangle, 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 and on the third triangle, if you press circle, you'll do a special triple hit instead of a double hit. So if you just press circle normally in sword mode, your character does the... I can't remember what the actual thing is called, but the move after it is called Heavenward Fury, or something like that. The one where your character jumps up into the air while spinning. And the best way to enter the circle attacks is from the third triangle attack. And you can even do what is called the DPS rotation, which is where you go triangle, 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 circle, triangle, 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 circle, and you just keep doing this loop. Or I think afterwards it's 2 triangles. It's whenever the third sword slash that goes from the right to the left, if you press circle, your character will do a triple slash backwards while doing it. It'll basically do the same circle animation, just with a additional attack as the first attack. And that is the most effective way to use that weapon in terms of DPS rotation in sword mode. That used to never have to be something you had to factor in other games with the Switch Axe, because the Switch Axe used to only be able to do the triangle attacks. It was just like a down slash, up slash, down slash, up slash sort of thing, and that was your DPS rotation. It was kind of a little bit of a boring weapon in the previous games, and especially because Axe mode was just garbage. Axe mode dealt like a quarter of the damage that sword mode dealt on hit. Whereas in Monster Hunter World, it's a lot more normalized, so Axe mode is actually just viable to use on its own now. Especially because of Wild Swing and the Morph Swing that spins you around, the highest damage attack the Switch Axe has. It used to just be like dual blades, where it was basically just a weapon where it had a meter that made it deal more damage. That's what the sword mode used to do, really. Like the charge, not the sword mode, but the actual blade being charged up in sword mode with the extra slaps. It used to basically just be damage for the hell of it. I tell everyone those kinds of things when they get into Monster Hunter, and they're always blown away by it. Because you'd think with how the game tries to be modern with its over-tutorialization of everything, but it fails to explain some of the intrinsic new mechanics to weapons. And unless you're a hardcore player, most people are never going to figure that out, because unlike game developers seem to think that most players nowadays are problem solvers. They're not. Watch a brain-dead idiot try to play Dark Souls and then call them a problem solver. You're not going to. Simply. Watch a brain-dead idiot try to play anything. Watching them try to play Monster Hunter, 90% of the people who don't like Monster Hunter but like Dark Souls don't like Monster Hunter because the fights take too long. And because they can't rely on a singular strategy to cheese the monster. Even people who speed kill, it's completely reliant upon more factors. Ray Demichi will tell you straight up in YouTube comments that once you learn how to abuse a lot of Dark Souls bosses, they're not even difficult, because you can just, especially in his case, you can vastly outpace a lot of the bosses in those games. Bloodborne was the only one where you really couldn't do that, because there simply was just not... There wasn't a broken enough power curve from the spells and skills to give you the ability to three-shot a boss. That just didn't happen. Wow. I forget how many guys clown car out of those tiny buildings. That should have been a headshot. What the hell? He came out of the side of the building. He wasn't even straight on. How many freaking clown car guys fit in these tiny little buildings, dude? Where's the clown car? I need to blow that up. Jiminy Christmas, look at that. They're just like standing side by side in those tiny buildings. Like just compacted in there.
There's like 30 dudes in there, LOL.
Like, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your clap party. I don't want the clap though. No. Smoking Jesus titty cinnamon. That is a monster. That's gonna be sweet.
This thing called Tigrex look me badass and also looks like an all expenses paid cart ride carnival.
Don't tell me what's in the new stuff yet. I have not looked it up.
Looks
Stop
blah,
doing
blah,
that.
blah.
Stop.
Welcome back.
Stop right now. Why is spoiler fucking community being so obsessive nowadays? Spoiler community. That's all I can call it. Everyone just loves being spoiled before it even comes out. There's no amazement. There's no like whoa factor anymore. Everyone just loves knowing everything ahead of time. It's like fucking Dark Souls trailers. You can't watch a trailer without knowing what every fucking enemy is going to be. Like, stop that. People need to stop. There are some people who like to enjoy knowing something when they figure it out themselves, and not when it's 3 months before it's gonna even come out. Fucking people drive me mad with that shit. This is the easy way to... Nah. Easy way to play. Sorry, I was trying to do something. Acquired. I find it funny how the new additional stuff that they changed about BL1 makes the progression different. You actually want to come to the Claptrap DLC so you can get the chest room open early on, because it's easier to do the DLC the lower level Minac is. Two of them have to spawn with frickin' good fire rate machine guns. But seriously though, I hate it. I really do. Why are people so obsessed with knowing shit ahead of time nowadays? It's just bizarre to me. People ruin games for themselves and the people around them with that shit. People wonder why modern video games don't have that same feeling of gratification. It's because you don't figure it out. Game trailers used to have almost nothing to do with the actual game. And now it's just, let me just show you everything in the game because people constantly bitched about us not showing enough gameplay. There's no in between. It's either all spoilers or nothing at all. And even then, someone will find out a way to find some leaked bullshit online. It's like, great. it's not already like the DLC is gonna be really fucking small anyways compared to what a G rank would add. Now I already know that 2 of the monsters are gonna be fucking returning. It's like, great. Praise Capcom and their ability to not make new shit. And then have everyone in the community go, whoa! They're making the same monster again. In any other video game, that would be disappointing. Monster Hunter World was already disappointing of a Monster Hunter game enough with its fucking lack of multiplayer multiplayer isn't needed in the game, so there's already a lack of community on half of the game. Look at how many people just play the games by themselves on their streams. Just about every single fucking one of them. And if they're not playing by themselves, they're playing with someone else that they're talking to on stream. And they very seldomly play with viewers, because then you just get the people who troll and other shit like that. It's like you can't win either way with how stuff works nowadays. But at least the game would have had that if they had just made the game the way it was in the beta. Don't let people turn off voice chat until they've already had a need to turn off voice chat. Because no one uses it. Including me. I don't use fucking voice chat. Why would I? You don't make it regional, so you just get a bunch of Asian people who are like, you fucking American and I hate you and blah 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 blah. And it's just like, oh yeah, this makes me feel great because all the other fucking people in America are pieces of shit and this is what our country is known for? Being a bunch of fucking drunk idiots that are literally hated by every other country on the planet? And the only thing that they can think of is Trump? Like, goddamn. Go play Monster Hunter for a couple days and just say that you're American. Or just speak with your voice and you'll get shit on by people like that. This is why games are region locked nowadays. The only country that should be allowed to play with Americans is Australia.
Always nice to get resupply.
They're the closest thing to us. They just have a different accent. They have rednecks too. They just call them bogans. It just is so fucking annoying. Everything about modern gaming is just annoying. It just is. It's one of the things that every single time I talk about it, it irritates me the most out of anything, because there's not anything you can do about it. If I don't buy a game, that doesn't mean shit, because there's still fucking 10 million other idiots who will. If I don't buy Sekiro because I want a more RPG game, did that affect From Software? No. Because a fucking million other idiots who only played through the game once did anyways. And most of them didn't even beat it. They're just the From Software zombies. It's like most of the dudes who streamed Sekiro non-stop when it came out are already back to streaming Dark Souls, exactly like I said a fucking month ago. Or 2 months ago at this point. I forgot, it's been a while since that game came out. And then you had people who were going back to Neo after playing Sekiro, and they're like, it's so hard playing a game without timed blocking and the sword going ting, tang, tong every 5 seconds. I just don't feel the gratification, man. Yeah, because you know what people used to do with swords? Just slam them against each other. Definitely with katanas that had hard edges and would shatter the edge of the blade. Totally. That's exactly what they did. They totally didn't block with the corner of the sword and like swing the swords into like, if you had one in your hand and you were pointing it forward, you're not gonna slash horizontally into someone else's blade. That's not how they fight. Go watch martial arts training from Japan. If you're gonna do combat like that, make it a fucking hack and slash game, because it already makes no sense in the first place. Satisfying, impactful combat that vibrates my controller every time I take a hit. Revolutionary. Oh, but it's about the timing. You have to time it really specifically. Just another word for parrying. Because the game doesn't have a parry. Well, streamer, it technically does have a parry because it has an ability called the Makiri counter, which lets you parry thrust attacks. But back on the original topic of why I even brought that up. People want to talk about enemy variety as being like one of the main factors of Dark Souls. So I guess Sekiro doesn't apply to that. Funny looking Asian face with the Senior Chang like laughing out loud face. Because that's literally what fucking Sekiro is a lack of enemy variety. There isn't a Dark Souls amount of enemies in that game, but did you see anyone bitching about that? No, but you see people bitching about it in Neo every fucking time someone has a criticizing post of Neo. It's always about enemy variety. It's like, have you played Borderlands before? Where you fight the same reskinned enemy? Like, this totally isn't a Lance Guardian. He's just renamed with a different color skin. They do that in fucking Monster Hunter as well. Oh, it's a gold Rathian, and it does 2 flips. It does a triple tailspin attack. Or something. It does instead of going back and forth 2 times, it goes back and forth 3 times. Whoa! And you're just like, come on. Like, really? And people freak out over that shit. That's one of the things that I complain about with Monster Hunter, is if you're going to put reskins in of monsters and add very little difference, you might as well just go all out and just have all the colors that you've ever made. All the colors of the rainbow. Put all the Rathians in. Put every single one in. Why do you already have all the things you need? Just fucking color palette swap. Goddamn lazy sons of bitches. Monster Hunter World could have so much more content in it. It just doesn't, for the sheer sake of laziness. There better be some secretive other bullshit that they've been working on for Monster Hunter. Or literally the past 2 years have been a huge fucking waste of their time. Like, what have they been fucking doing? How can you have double the monsters in a competing game made by some smaller portion of the Monster Hunter team? How? How is that even possible? Pull some of the guys off the fucking handheld garbage. You have way more people buying this shit. That's why my call out when people used to die would always be blame Capcom, but then they made it so you couldn't even put the name of the company in a call out in the game. They took that away and made it be blurred out whenever someone would read it, which is so great. You're so self-conscious about your own company, you can't even let people make jokes about it. What the fuck happened? Cue the "There's Something Wrong with the World Today" song.
Attention! Attention! Bandits are attacking Tartarus Station. If you play dead, they'll leave you alone.
I really hate it though. People's judgment of video games have become so askew recently that there's no rational people making legit criticisms of video games anymore. It's just some guy who's like, this game is bad because I don't play these types of games and it's not enough like the types of games I play. It's like, then don't fucking play it, dumbass. People who criticize Neo for being a Souls game and then subsequently say they don't like playing it because it isn't enough like a Souls game. So which one is it? Is it a Souls game or isn't it? It's not, obviously. Third-person action games can exist with lock-on mechanics where you have checkpoint-based healing without it being Dark Souls. There were other games before Dark Souls that functioned like Dark Souls. Beowulf on the Xbox 360 had more interesting mechanics in it and had a similar lock-on and rolling system. But that game was called shit because of its difficulty and just because of how the game worked in certain areas. There was an area of the game where if you didn't, like, really pay attention, you could just get stuck. It even had a similar thing to living weapon mode from Neo, where you had a rage meter and it would build up over time, and then you would use the rage in the middle of a boss fight or whatever, or in the middle of fighting some enemies, because it did the same thing. It'd have like an area with enemies and like a thing that you have to figure out, and then it'd have a boss, and then it would have a like an adventure walking sight viewing section, and then more enemies, and then a boss. Oh yeah, it's so unique to Dark Souls, dude. Dark Souls. What about Overlord as well? But that game you control minions, so it doesn't count, right? That's how the Dark Souls community would look at it. The actual melee combat or anything of it doesn't matter, of course. Neither does Fable. Fable is totally just a Souls-like, dude. Totally. There are third-person action games where you lock on to enemies and stuff like that and you dodge. Totally hasn't existed. Why am I having such a hard time getting over this today? There we go. I always have a hard time getting over it in this version. I could go on all night, though, about the things I hate about people's criticisms. And it's not that I think my criticisms are better. I have my own irrational criticisms of video games. But I at least accept the fact that they're my irrational criticisms. When I say that I suck at The Binding of Isaac, and therefore I can't play it well, I mean that. That doesn't mean that someone can't play the game well, or that the game isn't good. I just fucking suck. I can't do Platinum God, and I do think some of the challenges are too hard. But that's, again, because I suck. That's why I always laugh when people who watch me say I don't suck. I do suck. I just figure out a way to cheese and abuse everything in some way, shape, or form. And I just work that into the way that I play. That's why I die so much in Borderlands. Because I'm just a guy who goes, oh, enemy in front of face, I run and shoot. I just play like that. Because really what I want is a Doom game. With random gear in it. I would love a Doom game with Neo-style loot. That would be fucking mint. Because that's basically what Borderlands already is. It just adds RPG elements on top of it, which honestly just make the game worse in some elements, in some regards. Because what I would want is I just want the guns to be strong by themselves. I wouldn't want a skill tree that you had to have to make the guns good. Maybe to have skills with the guns. Like, oh, instead of, for example, instead of having an action skill, you could have a gun skill. Or something like that. Which would be like, if you're holding a shotgun and you press the action skill button, you could do like a thing where your character shoots all the shots out in a circle around them or something like that. Or if you're using like the sniper rifle, it lets you get completely accurate shots with no recoil for 5 seconds. So you can just be like, doosh, 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 right on something's head, if you're accurate enough. Because I think stuff like this takes away from what the gameplay could really be. It should be short cooldown gun-based style abilities that just give you a different ability depending on what gun you have. For example, you could take the thing out of like Fistful of Frags where with a revolver you fan the revolver to shoot really fast but inaccurately. Where you could just go grrrr. And it could just be based on whatever the gun's fire rate is. The gun had 2 fire rate. When you fan, it could be a 6 or a 8, depending on how much, 4 times or 3 times fire rate. That way, even without a skill tree, you could still be firing like I am now. It would have, again, a short cooldown, probably 10-15 seconds at most. With guns and items for your character that would be able to reduce the cooldown of whatever gun skill it was. Because again, I'd want it to be more item-based, a la Neo, where the skills just affect the weapon you use, but you don't have to use the skills. They don't, like, you can just wear armor and whatever. But even then, I probably wouldn't do that. If I was going to have skills, I'd want you to have all the skills off the beginning. Because that's just how I am. As much as I love skill trees, they just add meta to the game. If you just add all this stuff in from the beginning of the game and just make people find the variants, that normally equalizes itself out a lot better. Again, Neo. But even then, Neo in its higher difficulties becomes incredibly broken. And it's just super skill reliant unless you become very... I don't even know what you would say. Like gear focused. Looking up everything about gear. Learning everything about reforging and stuff like that yourself. Or you can just go look up the spreadsheets that guys put hours into to make it, to see what stuff can be rolled and can't be rolled at the same time. Makes it really easy. But that stuff can take forever to figure out. Even the people who made it, it took them several months to make that kind of shit, because you just have to sit there trying every possibility of everything and knowing what every possibility is. Oh, that one looked like it was still alive. No, come back, music. Music, come back. What am I doing?
Even your mightiest warriors crumble at the feet of the claptrap revolution. Yes, I know we don't technically have feet, but that's really besides the point. The key word.
Did he drop... Oh, no. The gun just looked like a plague. It wasn't actually a plague. Or a green crux. Whatever you want to call it. Corrosive crux. Wow, thanks, game. Funny how I started ranting earlier, and I think pretty much everyone but Ricky left. He's who I'd imagine is the only one that's still there. He's just probably asleep. All it takes is one small thing to set me off, and no one wants to hear me talk anymore.
Your opinion is important to us. You're not getting paid by the hour. Get a move on.
Yeah, I'm gonna save and quit. So I don't try to have many friends. Most of the people I try to add and or talk to get sick of me after like the second time of talking to me. So I'm just like, whatever. Excuse me, by the way. was also super irritated today because I was trying to do stuff out in my garden, but every day for the past 2 days, it's not every day, jackass, but the past 2 days, my neighbor's been being outside and they've been setting up this pool, and their fucking kids are just the most fucked up kids. Like, when I was a kid and I was in school, it wasn't normal for kids to just scream at the top of their lungs randomly for no reason, and for it to be blamed on medical conditions because their parents won't fucking do anything. It's like, parents nowadays, compared to parents when I was growing up, parents nowadays, literally anything they can to say that their kid has autism or something like that. It's like, your kid screams all the time, because when it was younger, you used to give it something every time it screamed instead of just letting it scream itself out sometimes, but you have to do that. Pretty soon they're going to start calling dogs autistic. One of their kids, well, I shouldn't say one of their kids, 2 of their kids, because the smaller kid gets it from the older kid. One of them, literally just standing there, will just sit there and just go, randomly, for no reason. No, nothing going on around, it just screams. And it just does it at an ear-piercing level that hurts your fucking ears. Constantly. And you're trying to be outside, enjoying the peace of mind of a garden, and all you can hear is freaking a 3-year-old and a 9-year-old screaming every 5 to 10 seconds for no reason. They just do it. Their parents just sit there and talk as if it's fucking normal too. Just like, what the fuck happened? Why are kids so much more fucked up now? There was one special ed student that I was growing up with who had a condition like that. But he was actually, like, mentally disabled, where he couldn't speak properly. They can speak and do stuff properly. They just get away with doing that all the time, and it just ruins the mood for everyone around here, having to constantly hear a girl scream like they're being stabbed with a fucking knife. It's become so much to the point where their parents are so desensitized from it that the kids could actually scream from being in help, and their parents would just be like, oh yeah, it's just normal. I can't wait for that day to actually happen. Not that I wish that upon the parents, but it's just like, you did it to yourself. You can't blame every single little thing that a kid does on a medical disorder. Sometimes you just gotta punish them for doing shit. Just say no. And if they scream, don't let them do shit. It's just like a dog. When you let a dog get away with something, it's going to do it over and over again. You have to tell it to stop, and you have to tell it to stop several times until it gets it. Sometimes even needing to add like a little bit of physical to it, not hitting the dog. but just showing it what it shouldn't do. Hand gestures and stuff like that. You can watch an actual dog trainer if you want to learn how to do that, but in reality, there's not much difference in between teaching a dog and a kid. The only difference is the kid can speak. They're the equivalent of dogs that bark all the time because their owners don't give a fuck. And they're just like, oh yeah, he just barks all the time. Don't get me wrong, I can understand a dog barking because there's someone new around, but I've met a lot of dogs in my life that are perfectly quiet, even around new people. There's a lot of people who live around here that have perfectly quiet, nice dogs that are always great to walk by. They don't try to jump on you, they don't do anything crazy. The most they'll do is just look at you and try to sniff you for a second before they continue walking. Because they also have one of those. They have a little fucking dog that barks all the time. Which they obviously ignore, just like their kids.
Worry. If you get horribly maimed, scarred, or disfigured, we can always bring you back to the shop for a quick tune-up. Oh, wait. No, we can't, because you're not a robot. You're a stupid, fleshy human. Suck it!
So loud.
If you need healing, step right up.
You corporate pawns truly
Oh yeah, that's right. Damn it.
Hello, my friends. Hyperion asked me to transport you to even bigger, better planets once you are through dispatching that runny little shit. Exciting new worlds like Eden 6. This one time on Eden 6. If it took more than one shot, you weren't using Jacobs.
You know, I wasn't programmed for direct combat. I also wasn't programmed to overuse air quotes. But obviously, I've grown beyond my programming, beyond my enslavement, and beyond my patience for your kind. Prepare to face the fury
I want
of
someone
mega
to link that to
interplanetary
Randy Pittsburgh's Twitter. Just that clip right there. Beyond my patience for your kind. Go gun, 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 gun. I've started the guns too early. No, the missile turret is cheese, dude. How dare you cheese me like that?
No spoilers, got it, sorry, sad.
No, 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 no. Oh, we made it. No, he got me. What is happening? Whoa. Punched.
Unbelievable. Just outstanding. You've quashed the rebellion, saved Pandora, and restored the good name of the Hyperion Corporation. Unfortunately, you've also voided that Claptrap's warranty. So, now you're stuck with him. However, there is still the matter of the reward we promised. Come see me.
Why did you only say that an hour later, dude? Well, there's only gonna be like 4 or 5 monsters in the new content. And I already know 2 of them now. And they're both returning monsters. Like, at least if I would have figured that out for myself, I might not have been as harsh, but knowing it ahead of time is just like, great. Awesome. So we get less new content. Great.
You survived. Good for you.
I got caught up in some hardcore shit, man, lol.
What? What are you playing? Another crux.
Alright, we got guns over here. This'll help.
Monster Hunter lol.
Nothing in Monster Hunter takes an hour. Double Savior Thumper.
Some rank 40 tried telling me I suck at this game. PFFDT, how does he know? Lol.
Well, do you?
Exciting opportunities await.
Apparently.
Let me know if there's anything I can do for you. It was a dark and stormy night.
Oh, I was gonna say, oh no, I think I got myself stuck. I can't sprint jump there.
Hi.
How's it going? No, it wouldn't let me jump again. Curses. I've always wondered if there was a way to skip over that building. How's it going? Sorry, I didn't say anything. I was lost in a train of thought. Get smiled upon.
I killed a Tsitsi Nikulo rank in 3 minutes. I am a professional. MOG happy tears.
What was that? Trying to shoot the claptrap because I was playing the claptrap DLC a moment ago. What the fuck was that?
He's been trying to fix the problem, and I'm sure he could use a hand. You'll find him at his office down at the docks.
It's still not the dark orange. Yeah. Or maybe I already bought it in Moxie's Underdome. It's not what owls sound like. Where is that? Oh. No barf semicircles.
I got the blue raptor in 2 minutes this time. I am so good at this game, LOL.
So good. So good. So good. You gotta say it in as fucked up as a voice and words as you possibly can when you sing that song. And then if you want to be a memester, you go, ah, bye. Yee! And there you go. Meme acquired. Can you just jump up here? I can't remember. Oh yeah, you don't even need a grenade jump.
I also purchased 3 copies of the hidden strategy guide because I am a professional.
What is happening here? My game is like breaking because it can't handle the skills. Oh my grandmas.
Sweet, you made it all the way here alive. I'll get the lift out, but it'll probably take a bit to hand crank the bastard all the way to you. Probably want to shoot any of those skull munchers that trottle in. Hang on then, going as fast as these old hands want to go.
I wonder where he bought that mustache.
Same place Roland did, I guess.
Come on, don't act like you've never had
Even though he only bought the mustache in the remastered.
zombie outbreak before. Jeez.
WTF, he has a mustache?
I'm getting there. Keep your shirt on.
Yeah, that you can use as a customizable item in this game. That was added for the, it's the same mustache that Zed has on his face.
I'll get you up. Hang on.
It's called Incognito.
Well, if I can get this thing down there to you, there's a good chance you'll make it out alive.
Actually, let's use Ogre for a second, just for some joke. Air shot.
Don't act all fancy and waste my time. Get on the damn thing.
What do I even want to get, dude? You don't need anything else on Roland. You only need the skills that I have right now. Well, you can get grit. Grit is pretty decent, but it's only 15%.
Going about this all the wrong way. I'm a doctor. I make people better.
I make people better. I'll show you what I mean. I was wearing it, but I put on the fishing hat instead.
We were betting on whether or not you'd survive and make it back. I had 3-1 you'd be zombie nuggets. Man, the new used station really throws off the spread.
It's a rhino!
Missions are available at the Jacobs Code Bounty
Sure.
Board.
Why not? It's not even that good, but I don't think I've had one on any of my characters yet. The thing about the rhino is that it's like the pyrophobia, if you've played BL2, or the cryophobia in the pre-sequel. See. He's a zombie, so he doesn't get corrodoed. Can't corrodo a Zambi. A Zamble.
What is this hideous thing on the arm with the Dante layered armor? When you load slinger ammo it is like a giant rock fist.
What? That's one of his guns from the previous game. I can't remember what it's called, though. One of his guns from DMC4. It's a demon thing. Demon arm. Weird how he doesn't get to use it in DMC5 though.
I still have to buy the game.
Or just wait for it to be free in a year. Watch how many companies pull a Borderlands. There was literally a dude in my stream the other day who was like, he pre-ordered Borderlands 3 having not even played Borderlands 2 or anything like that. And I was just like, how do people like you exist? How do people just get so pre-order antsy that they do stuff like that?
What LOL, it is too high quality to be free so soon.
In a year? Oh yeah. They did it with Destiny 2 in like 2 months, but that game was shit, so. It's just a great way to draw in attention for any new game, so I guarantee you it'll go free when they announce another Devil May Cry game. So many companies are gonna pull a Borderlands now, you just wait. Just to rope-a-dope people in. What the hell? I don't know if I've ever let him charge up before. And another one gone, and another one gone, and another one bites the dust. Hey, we're gonna get you too. Another one bites the dust. Also, I hate putting people on blast who are much nicer people and much more popular than me. But one thing I do want to say, just because it's always bothered me in regards to him, is Lobos Jr. got access to the Neo Alpha. Did he play it? No. Did he give anyone the code to play it? No. So basically they sent out a code to someone expecting them to test or play the thing, and they didn't play it, nor did they let someone else who actually wanted to play it. And it's just like, people like that are the definition of the reason why you don't give streamers who gave your game a poor rating when they played through it. And was one of the most worst examples of how to play Neo that exists on YouTube. If you want to see, if you thought that you were bad at Neo, if you thought you didn't know how to play, go watch a guy who is a Dark Souls quote-unquote pro try and play Neo. Go watch his first playthrough. Just go watch like maybe like episode 4 or 5 and skip like a couple hours in. Just so that you're not watching him at the very beginning. You've given him time to get used to the game and try out the different mechanics. So if you watch episode 4 or 5, it should give you a good example of how well he learns. Which is nothing. He learns nothing. At all. Absolutely nothing. He just plays the game as if it's Dark Souls with loot. He doesn't change stances. He uses axe the entire game, and then complains that you can't running attack into a combo. Which, to be honest, I don't like the fact you can't running attack into a combo either, but it's done specifically for people like him who abuse the fuck out of it in Dark Souls. Where that's all they do to initiate a boss. And then they just running attack R1, 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 and then dodge whenever they need to. Great. Wasted a grenade. Son of a bitch!
Blame the devs for sending him the code instead of me in the first place.
Yeah, I know. Like, they made such a huge mistake on giving people codes like that. Again, I wouldn't even be so critical of this if it wasn't for the fact the guy said he didn't even like Neo in the first place. He just calls it an okay game. He wouldn't even do, he did a little thing for a while where he had his brother come over and play Dark Souls while he just sat there and watched and didn't say anything or help him. To the point where sometimes it literally like impeded his enjoyment of the game. And really, I imagine the only reason his brother kept doing it is because it was one of the only ways that they would get together, because Lobo spends sometimes 6 to 9 hours plus a day playing games on his stream. Which, I mean, it's his job, so I'm not criticizing him for that. I'm just criticizing him for his lack of critical choice in the moment. Like, you could have raffled off the code on the stream for free and just given someone the code for free. You could have done something like that, because there's a lot of people who like Neo. There are people who like Neo who still really like Dark Souls, like my friend Rasan. He's played probably equal the amount of Dark Souls as he has Neo, and he's been through the abyss in Neo. I just hate what it's become, man. It's so obnoxious. Stop giving streamers codes for games they don't even like, just so you can get your brand out there. It didn't even work in that case, because that guy doesn't do stuff for brand unless it's From Software. Oh, you better bet he gets anything from Software, he's gonna play it. Even if it has nothing to do with Dark Souls, just because he's that zombie of a person. And that I will say in an insultive manner, because I really dislike that one mentality type of thing, where it's like, From Software is just good and they just make good games nowadays. It's like, no. Their games could be better than they are. Half of the time their games are let down by small things in the games that over time become big things that people focus in on. Like poise. Freaking, it's such a joke that if you go into any Dark Souls stream, there's always the guy who's typing P omega lol IOSE. Poise. Always. It's just always going to be a thing now. And it's like that developer's going to have to live with that for the rest of their life, because even though their community is brainless zombies for their content, they're never going to forget that. Even in Sekiro and stuff like that, people will say like, oh, this enemy has poise. It's like, when did poise become super armor and when did super armor become poise? Oh yeah, Dark Souls. But since Dark Souls overwrites every video game ever, any term that comes from Dark Souls is now a blanket video game term. It's like when people play Bloodborne and they don't care to call Blood Echoes Blood Echoes. Not that that actually matters very much, but it's like people will be anal about calling things different things in other games. I personally don't care. Call it whatever the fuck you want. But some people are so reversely critical for no reason. The real part that you should always be critical about with Dark Souls is just the fact that the game just isn't as deep or as good as people claim it out to be. I'm not trying to say Dark Souls is bad. I have to say this every single time, because then people will fucking, if they ever hear a whiff of that, they'll instantly come to the game's defense, and it's like, I don't think the game's bad, I just don't think it's as good as people claim it out to be. It's just like how I don't think the lore is that good. The lore is 90% shit that people have made up to fill in the gaps that From Software refuses to fill, and then they just make some retarded ass DLC that negates everything anyways. People who say the Ring City DLC is one of the best DLCs is basically saying, like, I like when Dark Souls basically said that none of Dark Souls mattered, ever, because it was all just an illusion held in a little egg that a girl was holding. Nothing ever mattered because time is convoluted and it was all an illusion created by a person in the first place. Wow, what a story. Everything else in the lore doesn't matter because of that one bit in the lore.
Poor Vatividya.
And it's funny to me how people will try and rationalize it, but it's just, they just wanted to kill off the series. And what better way to kill off the series than saying that everything was just an illusion? Everything was already ash. Everything was already falling to shit. You just didn't know it. And you go down the building of the Firelink Shrine to get to the frickin' Ring City, and it's just like, we get it. We get it, FromSoft. You don't want to make another Souls game. We get it. Now you're just going to have Bandai Namco make a shitty Souls game. I swear the people from Dark Souls 2 are part of the people that went and developed Code Vein after watching some of the gameplay.
Then all of a sudden this hobo in a red cape is the main character instead of you, like WTF.
And I'm not even talking about the fact that the Ring City was also the most, like, gameplay gating DLC ever, where it was just like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this boss have way more resistance and way more everything than every other boss in the game, and then we're gonna nerf it a month later. And it's still one of the most impossible bosses to complete in multiplayer. The other bosses aren't bad. The PvP boss is obnoxious, but I actually liked playing as the boss, so. I have a couple videos of me doing like 1v4 in that with my regen build. Regen build and Great Mace. Use my poise. To just trade with people who think that they could trade with me. That and lightning weapon, plus sacred oath. One second, I need to go to the bathroom. It's one of the main reasons why I haven't ever done another Dark Souls 3 playthrough, and why, like, one of my last Dark Souls 3 playthrough ended with an episode of me fighting the Ancient Wyvern without using the one-shot kill, which you're supposed to kill him with. And that entire stream ended up lagging out and being glitchy, because that was back when the codec for the fucking PS4 could end up getting all fucked up. But it's been updated since, and I haven't had it happen for at least a year and a half, 2 years now. I always try to do weird shit, but you can't do weird shit in Souls games, especially the later ones, just because the games are so designed for you not to be doing that.
You can actually kill him without a plunging attack?
Yeah, of course. It's a little bit cheesy, because you have to basically make him do the same thing over and over again, and then you just punish him for it. By either hitting him in the head with a running attack, again, like I was saying earlier, with running attacks being kind of toxic to the way that you play the game. You watch the people who do no-hit runs. Watch the main attack that they use to deal damage most of the time. I guarantee you 90% of them will be running attacks. Like, I understand it's a thing you need in the game, but it just ends up being the cheesiest thing that you can do in the game. Because running is the most effective way to avoid most enemies' attacks. That's how people do no-hit runs in the first place. It's just all running for the most part. And some well-timed dodges. I'm not going to take that away from the people who do it. But it is mostly just running in the right way, in the right area. That still hit me from all the way over here. Are you serious? Excuse me.
Probably. But at least I don't make popcorn when people are trying to work.
Reorienting satellite dish. Please commence cowering in terror from zombie presence.
I like RPG aspects of Souls games.
Or at least close enough. Transmission commencing on 56K connection. Please wait.
But they just ended up taking out so much of the RPG of the game
Thank you for using our state-of-the-art interstellar
that it just made it less fun for me. Especially the community who's just like, you're trying to use the RPG in an RPG game by leveling up? That's why I enjoy the Monster Hunter type of RPG, because no one bitches that you're over-leveled. Because you can't level up.
Emoji disappointed face emote of PS Plus.
That sucks, man. It's a loot goon! It's so rare.
If you level past 150, you're basically hacking, bro.
I love how they just turn into like a squirt of guts if you kill them with the explosive. Where? Oh. Take a trip on the internet. Do 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 do. Take a shit on the internet. That's what everyone does nowadays. Isn't that what shit posting is? Playing with one hand right now.
That's why I quit Dauntless. I refuse to have someone carry me cause they way over leveled.
Well, stats shouldn't have that significant of an effect in an online-only game. Oh yeah, that's right, there's a chest here. I always forget.
Try not to hurt your girl parts on the multitudes of minions I've sent upon you.
So many zombie brains. No, I'm full. I forgot to sell stuff. Threw that grenade way too far.
Dauntless keeps getting tougher, but they keep locking your weapon upgrades behind difficulty spikes. It's bullshit.
The game looks cool from gameplay footage, but when I saw how the menus and stuff like that worked, I really didn't like it. And when I say menus, I don't just mean like, oh, moving through the menu is difficult. No, I mean like the actual stuff that goes on in the menus is not good. The management part of the game is terrible. Upgrading and all that kind of shit, terrible. And I was like, yeah, that's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, you have to keep farming difficult monsters until you unlock even more difficult reskin versions of those monsters, then you get to farm TH.
To be honest though, that's how the older Monster Hunter games were. Because they wanted you to feel like getting past the next monster actually meant something, but it also meant that farming that monster was really hard. If you were playing by yourself, you really wanted friends. It's the same way with Dauntless. If only they had a Palico system. That's why Monster Hunter added their Palico system. Good shot. Midget zombies tougher than the normal zombies.
Randoms are dumb but the best even if you can find people to do tough monsters with, cause no one wants to fight the tougher monster in a group.
Yeah, so it has the same problem. No one wants to do Lunastra, but people really want help on it. Oh my god. Sorry, I could have swore I smelled something weird. I think it's skunk. But the smealer part of my nose ain't working too good. I don't know. I really hope they're actually just hiding the fact they're doing a G rank for Monster Hunter World. But it also wouldn't work just because they already have Gamma armor. So I don't know how they do that. Make Omega armor? Alpha Omega. Call it Mega rank. Yumba Yad. Gotta get that Yumba. I don't know if I've ever gone over here before. Also, this fucking tree. I don't believe was here. Why do I feel like I run so fast? I feel like I run faster in the water, dude. Zooming. The late zoomer. Oh, is that supposed to be the cranes? Oh, yeah. I was like, what are those little divots off the map? But they're just the cranes. What is the point of this water area?
Finally onto Borderlands. Too hard to stop playing MHW for some reason.
You get addicted. Believe me, I played it for like a half a year straight. Even after I'd already beaten everything. Like I said, I was just disappointed in the lack of monster variety in some of the areas. Why, there's so many different monsters that can show up in like the Elder's Recess and the Ancient Forest, but barely any in the Rotten Vale. Like, make more Rotten Vale monsters. Please. I love the Rotten Vale's music. I wish you got to hear it more. The dun 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 dun.
Instead they should make it so Bagel and Devil Joe show up instead of making new monsters.
They do show up. What are you talking about? It's just if you complete missions fast, Devil Joe will never show up because he only shows up after a monster leaves the area. I get them all the time. Depends on missions you pick. If Investigation doesn't have him listed, he's not going to be there. Only until one of the monsters goes away, which if the investigation is for all 3 monsters, then it can't possibly be another monster. So, that's just how that works. He shouldn't even be in the game. He's a repeat anyways. He's a repeat, and his repeated boss design is worse. His design in the other games is better because at least he's fair to the player when you get pinned. Monster Hunter really makes you rely upon flash pods because half of the other items in the game don't
made
have
it
the
so
effect they
show up
used to.
instead of going through the process of creating new monsters.
Monster Hunter World is always, or not Monster Hunter World, Monster Hunter series has had invading monsters since Monster Hunter 3. That's where Devil Joe comes from, where that kind of concept was introduced as an invading monster. The problem is just the base monsters are just repeats. There are more original monsters in the fucking spin-off games now. But even then, the spin-off games just have new versions of the old monsters, like, oh, what's it called in Generations Ultimate? Not Tyrant. Oh my god, there's a specific term in that game for a monster that has gone really, really powerful. And there's like a version of Black Diablos that has red veins like Basil does. That does like this, jumps out of the ground and tornado twists through the air and does ridiculous shit compared to Monster Hunter World's Diablos. She's just really fast in Monster Hunter World, but she's also pretty fast in Generations, so... Again, if you're not a person who's well-versed in the Monster Hunter franchise, then you're not going to even know which monsters are repeats or not.
What they needed was like a giant skeleton or something, lol.
Well, it needs to be a monster. Not specifically... like an animal, but it has to be a monster of some kind. The only thing that has drifted like really far away from monster and Monster Hunter is again in Generations, where they have starts with an A. It's like Anuk Ra or something like that. Or wait, hold on. Oh, Atoraruka. And, oh, the one I was thinking of is Atalka. That's the G-rank version of that fight. It's an insect that has telekinetic powers. And basically Zora Magdaroses itself by picking up things in the environment to form a giant mechanical beast. But you fight him as his insect form too. So the fight like starts out with you fighting his insect form, then he goes into a phase where he picks up the environmental pieces to make the thing. You have to climb up on him. You have to break the pieces on his back, and then he falls back apart, and you have to fight him in his next phase of his, like, insect form. And I believe you have to do that 3 times. So you have to You have to fight his normal form 3 times. So you attack him, he makes a monster. You fight the big monster. You fight him as a normal guy. He makes a big monster again, and then the last little bout is with his normal self. Look it up. It really could show you what Monster Hunter World could have been like. In terms of its difficulty and stuff like that. But he's difficult in a fair way, and you'd immediately notice this upon watching the actual fight. The hardest part is his actual insect phases. The giant monster phase is actually really easy. If it wasn't for the fact that a relative switch is the only way that I can play it, I would, but... I don't want to have to borrow their shit. Plus, I'm not really on good terms with them the past half a year or so. Oh god, the saw blades are so loud.
It's not over yet.
No, Yumberyard. So loud. No, you fucking cheese ball. What a fucking cheese curd. What? I can just run through that? Dun, 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 dun. No, we gotta hear the fucking Yumba yacht again. Why? Oh my god, it's so loud. Holy shit. It's like being next to an actual saw. Which is actually so fucking loud. Dun, 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 dun. Am I even... What? He dropped loot though. Explosive artifact? Is that above level 35? Yes.
Woo.
Ooh woo. Do you use default control scheme in Borderlands? I'm guessing you do. Most people never change their control scheme, which always surprises me. Bumper jumper for life. The game's gotta jump, it's gotta be on the bump. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
I use resistant because that's what I used in the original Borderlands.
Resistant? What are you talking about?
Give me a shout if I can help you.
The circle is the grenade instead of crouch.
Yep. R1's my melee. L1's my jump button. X is weapon swap, but I never use weapon swap with X. I always use D-pad. With D-pad, you can do stuff like this. That's how you know.
WTF is wrong with you?
What do you mean, what is wrong with me? What's wrong with you? Right stick is crouch. It always is crouch. If left stick is sprint, right stick should be crouch. That's the only logical thing. Whoever the fuck thought circle was a good crouch button is an idiot. No wonder so many people have trouble playing a pre-sequel. Put crouch on right stick and all of a sudden a pre-sequel becomes the best game ever. Same thing with jump on L1. You can jump and aim at the same time. Miraculous. You don't have to ever take your thumb off the analog stick, except if you want to throw a turret or a grenade, which doesn't need to be accurate in the first place. It's a fucking grenade. You just point where you want it to go and throw it.
L1 is jump. What generation are you from, LOL?
That's called bumper jumper, like I just said. That's the superior control scheme. That's next generation. The fact is that they only make X button fucking jump button in video games nowadays to suit the people who played video games 25 years ago. Who gives a shit about them? They don't play modern video games. L1 should always be your jump button. Always. It's not even a question. Especially in games like this, because I can jump, aim, shoot, and land and continue sprinting without having to press the sprint button again. I do it all the time. It doesn't work in Borderlands 2 though. For whatever reason, your character stops when you shoot in the air and it doesn't continue sprinting because it's not based on momentum.
Just get a keyboard, LOL.
What do you mean get a keyboard? You can't fucking do that, nerd. At least I swap my controls instead of buying a $200 scuff controller. Like a moron. Oh yeah, I need the flappy paddles on the back because I can't just swap my X button to my L1 button. Fucking idiots. I'm the superior brain in this situation. I know how to make playing any game more comfortable to the hands, because that's what I care about the most. And it's way easier instead of moving your thumb back and forth. Let's say if jump button was X, I'd have to go...
Only Call of Duty nerds play with SQF.
Dude, it doesn't matter. I used to do this on old PlayStation 2 games that let you swap the buttons. The only problem with modern video games is the fucking developers are too lazy to let you change the controls yourself. Borderlands 3 better have remappable controls. Better. Not even an if. It must. Or else I'm not going to be playing it. Even more so than anything else. I use this same control scheme for Fallout 4 too. Because I jump all the fucking time. And when you jump all the time, you want to be able to not have to move your thumb. Or move any finger for that matter. The only fingers you're moving are your thumbs. That's how I can aim so well compared to some people. I mean, I tend to use auto aim a lot, but I also hip fire all the time as well. I play on max sensitivity as well. Oh,